All right. Hey everyone, Paul Bodwin here with Well Standard Financial and Unlike Regular People. Today we have a special guest, and it's the first episode actually of URP, Unlike Regular Podcast. And I couldn't think of a better guest to represent Houston than the man himself, Johnny C. Johnny?
Paul, I'm going to call you Paulie half the time because that's what I've been calling you for most of your adult life.
This is true.
I'm excited to be here with you, man.
Man, thank you very much. And congratulations on the Olive Room. This is a brand new room to deal with the acoustics, you said?
I just felt like the room, I remodeled 2 rooms here, and I just felt like they were looked like I ran out of money, kind of upstairs at people's house, where they kind of just have a tight budget. And boy, I tell you, I had this friend of mine named Courtney Hill Fertitta. She remodeled it and blew me away, man. I mean, she did a great job in this room. We call it the Olive Room. The other room is called Mr. C's room, affectionately named after my dad.
Okay, I saw your dad today when I walked in here.
Yeah, he's
Great
here
guy.
every day.
Yeah, every day. And what's the front room to the left?
The wine room.
The wine room, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, today we just kind of want to talk about not only success and how I always talk about success is different and how you define it and how everyone defines it. Mother Teresa actually says that the United States of America is the #1 country that defines success monetarily. And I don't define success as that. I happen to define success when you're laying on your deathbed and you look back and it's the amount of impact that you've had on the people that you love and care about. And it kind of flashed me back, and the idea of having you on here is the way you not only talked about success, but you talked about your journey and your path over the last, how many years has it been?
We just celebrated our 37th year in business.
Wow.
And that's a long time in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, it really is.
And then kind of speaking of success, I don't want to be on my deathbed today, but if I was, man, there's some things I would feel good about, but I don't know what the true meaning of success is. You know what I mean? I'm still grinding and searching for that. But I think once you start feeling that you are successful, that's when you kind of you lose that intensity, and that's kind of when things start going downhill. So I think you always have to stay really hungry, searching for success, because success comes in stages, and so I'm real careful about that.
Yeah. So you're saying stay hungry about how to achieve success.
I talk to my staff all the time. I said, I don't want to be too long-winded, but let's just say you become the heavyweight champion of the world. Okay, well, most people don't know what it took to get there, right? Let's take boxing, but as a kid, they had to, put their training in. They had to wake up early before school to go do their road work, get their running in. Then after school, they go work out. Then they start, fighting, in little local events, and they start, maybe go to the Golden Gloves, maybe go to the Olympics, and then they become the heavyweight champion of the world. Well, like I said, most people don't know the price they paid. But then the other thing is, what I've noticed a lot is that once they become the heavyweight champion of the world, they start reading their own press. They put that big old belt up in the air. They start living the good life, partying.
Gotcha.
And they lose focus. Most of the time they get knocked out because they lost their hunger.
Yeah.
I think that when you look at people like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant and whoever, you can name all the great entertainers, they never stop grinding. You know what I mean? They
stay on the goal.
They stay on the goal. They're always, we're going to talk about it, but they're making sure their game is evolving. That they're working, and they're really. It's not really about the money. Money's a byproduct, but they have a deep hunger to be the best. And that's what I've kind of always kind of sensed about those kind of people. It's really about, and I think a lot of it is like proving people wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. You have that drive to prove people wrong. And when I tell people often ask me, why do you love Carrabba's? Like, what is it about it? And it's the original Carrabba's on Kirby, everyone, 3115 Kirby Drive. There's also one on San Felipe and Voss. But across the street, there's Grace's. Then behind that, there's Mia's. There are 3 different restaurants. They are all great. So if you haven't tried them out, try them out. Johnny just brought up evolving, and I've been coming here 22 years. That's half my life. And the building used to be right where the valet is, right next door, which only sat how many? 90 or
96 chairs with 8 bar stools. And it was a 3,000 square foot building, and it was small. Very, I could control it. I was younger. 37 years ago, I was relatively young, and it was a building I could wrap my arms around.
Yeah.
And you know what, Paul? I don't want to get you off track, but people always ask me, "What do you want to do?" Right? If I had my wish, I'd like to run that one little restaurant again.
Yeah.
Because it was just, it was very warm. I knew everybody that came in. I still know all my employees, but it was just something very cozy about it,
The ceilings were really low. I remember
real low.
That's the home feel that it gave me. I still have that here because of your employees. You have generational employees, and a lot of people don't really know what that is, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Generational people that work here, their sons, their grandchildren. I can't tell you how many people that work here that are 30 years, 25 years.
Yeah, it's really funny, to have a generational business, right? I think it's very important to have generational employees. So they're my family, but like in this book that my latest book that I just did and came out in November, it's called A Gift from the Heart. But the one thing that, and every time I look at it, and I've read it just once, but because I wrote it with a great ghost writer named Doug. But the one thing that I love about this book is that I'll feature 30 employees. I feature 25 employees that work here at Carrabba's that have been with me 30 years or longer. Well, if you know anything about the restaurant business, it's a very transient business. People don't usually stay in the restaurant business for a long time. They want to be actors and lawyers or whatever. But we have maintained, and the key to our success, whatever you define success as, it's same people doing the same thing with a lot of pride.
Passion.
Yeah. And I always go back to sports, but if I have a different quarterback every year or a different center every 2 weeks or different receivers, I'm not going to be that successful.
Yeah.
I believe in the team sticking together, plays together, wins together.
I couldn't agree more. And going back to sports is something I always do. And I worked in the service industry till I was 30.
Yeah.
I worked around the corner at the Harp. Remember the Harp? Little Woodrow's, managed bars, the State Bar downtown. And it was right around when I got out. When I was 30, loved all my bosses, but I really think how they say, a fish might rot at its head, but on the opposite, an organization and a foundation is only good as its, as its leader. And I just see the way that employees respect you, the regulars, when you come in here on a Thursday or Friday night and make your rounds, it's just, there's an energy that you bring in.
Yeah, I know people are going to find this hard to believe, but, started here on Kirby, then I opened up the one on Voss about 35 years ago, and then Outback Steakhouse approached me, and then we grew it to a chain of about 220 restaurants. But this is going to sound a very controversial, contradictory.
Yeah.
I don't like chain restaurants.
Well, I don't blame you.
And I tell everybody that because, in my opinion, we really pride ourselves on being family-owned, neighborhood restaurant. You know what I mean? And I just think that when it's family-owned, and those employees are treated like family, it's just hard to compete with. You know what I mean? There's a lot more soul, in my opinion. There's a lot more soul in a family-owned business, or owner-operated business.
Who was it?
I'm gonna catch a lot of criticism for saying something like that, but I'm not really worried about it.
I think it's the truth, and that reminds me of a story that we haven't even talked about probably in over 12 years. Which family member was it that said, "Hey, which one is your favorite Carrabba's?" And he said all 239. Who was that?
Damien.
That's your.
But my uncle.
Your uncle.
But he's only 6 years older than me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was before you sold the shares.
Yeah.
And all of it.
Yeah, I'm out of it now.
You're out of it completely,
Yeah.
and that's funny because I was in Orlando right after COVID, and we ate our Carrabbas out there, and again, I might catch some flack, but it was not even close. Like Olive Garden was 3 times better than this dinner that I had.
I can't make those comments, but yeah.
In Orlando, right? I could say a lot more, but so when people hear you're like Carrabba's at your favorite restaurant, I had to explain to the non-knowers that no, this and the one on Voss is completely, it's different. It's like varsity, and you got to try it out. And everyone that does try it out comes to me and is just like, wow.
Yeah, and I'm real proud of the Carrabbas out there. I'm really proud. You know, like people say, would you do it again? Yeah, I would do it again, but again, I have to state, like it's hard to beat a family-owned neighborhood restaurant that has employees that have been here for 30 years. I mean, it's just hard to compete with that. And when you grow, you have to give up on some of that stuff. But yeah, I understand your point.
Yeah, like I said,
I'm proud of
them.
Well, I can't get fired, so I don't really care.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So one story that I always will remember dear to my heart was in 2011, my father was going through a double lung transplant, and a couple of my aunts were in town, his sisters from Philadelphia, my mother, and my brother and I, my brother formerly the Rockets mascot, Houston Fletch the Bear, we did when the Super Bowl was here, I think it was it Pat's Carolina, or was it Pat's Atlanta? It's always Pat's with Brady. I think it was Pat's Carolina. We did an organ donation awareness thing, and I wanted to ask you for some gift cards. And no, this is not an opportunity to start asking Johnny Carrabba for free stuff. But he saw me struggling because I've known you at the time for 11, 12 years, and I don't like asking people for free stuff. And he saw me kind of struggling, and he decided to give me a lot more than I was asking for, but it just was very emotional to me. I think because I never really did ask for anything, for free for those 11 or 12 years. But
and you're a friend too.
I really do appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And then I think you actually, after the 100th bottle of wine I got here, after 18 years, you might count me in that one too.
Yeah, I tell you, I think I told you one time I picked up your meal one night, and you said, "Man, that's really nice of you." And I said, "Every 30 years you get a free meal."
That's what it was.
I'm a big-hearted guy.
That's what it was. Talk to me more about your success and your journey of opening up this Carrabba's in 1985.
December of 1986, 8 banks turned me down. It was bad economic times in Houston, and back then. So, people don't want to lend to restaurants because it's a very high risk business. But I got turned down by my dad and grandfather's bank. It really crushed me because I knew the banker really well. As a young kid, I knew him. But then, just everybody was turning me down. And then finally I was working at Damien's, in the kitchen, learning how to get, cook and get ready for this place. And I just happened to be walking through the dining room one day, and an elderly gentleman said, "Hey, Johnny, how you doing?" Well, when you're in the restaurant business, you're not going to know everybody you talk to, but we're trained professionals. So, "Hey, how you doing? Great to see you again." I don't know if I've ever seen the guy in my life. And he goes, "How's your new deal working out?" And I said, "Oh, sir," I said, "it's not really working out well at all." I said, "I think 8 banks have turned us down. Almost every bank in Houston's turned us down." He goes, "Well, hold on for a second." He reached in his back pocket, wallet. The old guys always had those thick wallets.
Yep.
Give me a business card. He goes, "I'm on the board of Omni Bank on Old Spanish Trail by University of Houston." He goes, "Go see Rhonda Lewis." So I went to go see, and I'll keep it short, but the lady ended up, the bank loved lending money to native Houstonians and family-owned businesses, and she gave me the money. Wow. And she needed $100,000 worth of collateral. I didn't have it. Damien didn't have it, and so my dad came up with it.
Okay.
And so we opened up, like I said, December 26th, and a little restaurant, and that's just how it started, man. But like, and I tell my young people, and then Outback approached me, but I always tell my young people, play the game hard, because somebody, might be watching you. So I want to get to I want to just elaborate a little bit. I didn't know the man at Damien's restaurant having dinner that gave me the card. When we go to see Rhonda Lewis, the banker, she knew us from eating with us. And then when Outback was looking for another growth vehicle, the guy named Tim Gannon, who's one of the founders of Outback, used to eat in here, but I didn't know him. So when they wanted to grow some more with another concept, they called me. So when you take the man at Damien's, Rhonda Lewis, the banker, and Tim Gannon, one of the founders of Outback Steakhouse, I didn't know who they were, but they controlled my destiny. So I try to tell my young people, play the game hard every play, because you never know who's in the stands that's watching you that can control your destiny. I shouldn't be here today. Just luck of the draw.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's making any sense to you.
It makes perfect sense to me because my life, by the way, I didn't know if I ever told you, I worked at Outback Steakhouse
Yeah, I know.
until I moved out here
Yeah.
in Scottsdale, and then I worked at the one in Meyerland even. But people that control your destiny, you don't even know when they're making the plays. That makes perfect sense.
That's right. You know what I mean? And like I said, you never know. And so I feel very fortunate.
So how much do you like to do that for people now? If that makes sense.
I don't. I'll be honest with you, man. I was going through like a little tough time. I'd sold out of the chain Carrabbas, and Chris Sullivan, who's the founder and CEO of Outback, a really dear friend of mine. I gave a speech. He has a company out in Florida. He wanted me to, give a speech to his company for their conference, and he wanted to talk to me. He goes, "Man, what's on your mind?" Because I was kind of like going through like a little bit of change in my life with selling the business and everything, and still have 9 restaurants. You know what I mean? But I just felt a little empty, and he picked up on it. Good friends pick up on things, and he goes, "What's going on?" I told him, I just feel a little empty, man, like a little bit lost. Like, what do I do next? Because we all want to, we always want the next gig, right? But what should I do next? And he said, well, he goes, you don't have anything else really. Chris is such a dear friend. He goes, you don't have anything else really to prove in the restaurant industry. He goes, I know where you started. I know where you're at now. He goes, you've always been really good to your people. He said, the rest of your career should be dedicating to making a real difference in your people's life. And that put me on track. And so that's really where I'm at now. I'm getting ready to get in business with Chris again to grow the Mia's concept. But really my main function of coming to work 8 days a week is to be with my people. Yeah, I love being with my customers.
Yeah.
People love seeing the owner at a restaurant. I know that. I love that. But my real joy is taking care of my people. And when you take care of your people, they always take care of you. And so I think that's the reason for our success, and that's really that's the rest of my career, really.
I used to say that in the bar industry, a heavy cash business, at least back when I worked there. Mm-hmm. And I used to say, if ownership is good and your general manager is good, I believe most people are good people.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to want to steal from you. They're going to want to do good by you. Mm-hmm. But then those people also can turn on you if they're not being, done good by. I used to, a buddy of mine still to this day, the owner of Little Woodrow's, Danny Evans.
Oh yeah, I know Danny.
Danny, I used to tell him that. And Danny treated us well. He treated us good. He cared about all the girls that worked there. So it's just like girls if they did it, they were good. Because I was really good. I knew different ways to find out if a girl was stealing or if a guy was stealing.
Right.
But your managers, your general, Ramel, I've known Ramel 20 years. Hubert, who's now in management, he was my favorite. I would request him for all my birthdays. You got Zach, Shannon, Ricky behind the bar. Like I said, generational employees. They're the people that make me. It's like Cheers. It really is. When we're at a bar and Johnny Carrabba walks in on a Friday or Saturday, it's like, hey Norm, hey Cliff,
Yeah.
And it's just.
But I learned that from, I think I've always been like a loyal type person, but I learned that really from an old businessman. I thought he was just a barfly. Guy came and drank, right? Older man, and come to find out he was a vice president of Gulf Oil. And he told me, he goes, everybody says the World War II generation is the best generation. And he goes, I can't argue with it. He said, I can't argue with that. He goes, but there's good and bad in every generation. There's good, he goes, we might think something about these young people nowadays, and this is going back 25 years ago or whatever. He goes, they want to say something about these kids aren't any good. He goes, there was good and bad kids back in the World War II generation, and there's bad and good kids now. He goes, but as an employer, if you're loyal to them, they're going to be loyal back. And I never forgot, because you always learn from older, wiser people.
Yeah.
But that's really when I really started concentrating on being better with that.
Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm. What is something that you do care about, not only your guests that come in, but the people they bring in? And I've brought in a lot of people here.
Oh, yeah.
Parents, family. What is something that, have you learned anything from me? And if so, what is like something that you can tell the audience what you've learned from me?
First of all, I think, you're a friend, okay? But when you come in, even when you were younger and I was younger, but you were younger than me. But even when you would come in, I would get excited to see you. And there's something that I'm just going to get to a real point on. Maya Angelou, the great philosopher, said people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. They'll never forget how you made them feel. So when you would come in and you did some entertaining here, you'd have fun, bring your friends and different friends and stuff. But I was excited to see you. Right? It's not a game. I wasn't playing a game with you. Like, oh, let me naturally I call you Paulie when you come in here. Yeah. But it wasn't like I was, hey Paul, God, did great to see. It wasn't fake. I was excited you were coming in here. But when I make you feel like King Kong in front of your friends, because you're important to me.
Yeah.
But when I make you feel good in front of your people, you know what I mean? And it's not a game. I want to get that understood. It's not a game.
I can sniff it
it's
out.
Genuine.
Back in my poker days, it was 100% authentic.
Yeah.
That's if I thought it wasn't authentic, I wouldn't have been constantly bringing it. I can go to dinner anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But people are going to go where they feel welcomed, and where they feel good. And but Paul, it wasn't just me. Ramel, who's the vice president of my company, started off as a waiter.
Wow.
Huber, who's my general manager here, he started off as a busboy, right?
Yep.
And even if I wasn't here, you still were, important to us.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Your friends that you brought in, they became very good friends and customers.
Yeah.
So it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
I
remember during COVID, the general manager over at Grace's, Jonathan Love,
yeah.
Yeah, they were doing to go. And I went out of my way to go in there and support that. And once or twice a week going in fact, Jose, I think I got us dinner one time from Grace's.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely appreciate that. It goes, without saying that Carrabba's and the whole chain here on Kirby, 3115 Kirby Drive, is like family. Yeah.
I hope it stays here for a long time,
I think it will.
Yeah.
I think you're wise enough, being a financial planner. I think you know about your succession plan, about your estate plan, and who's going to be running it here when we're all gone. So.
Paul, I don't want to get you off track, but I think every company, every organization, I think they always need to, have good fundamentals, and there's one thing I like to always talk about is that, we have fundamentals. Our fundamentals are food, service, cleanliness, energy, enthusiasm, profitability. So it's posted whenever a server goes to the keyboard, for the point of sale system.
Yep.
It's on there. If you go into my kitchen, there's posters posted there, all through the restaurant. And the one thing is that I think no matter what we're doing, right? Wealth management, sports, teaching, whatever. Medicine, law, you always have to have fundamentals. But the one thing that I want to point out that I really talk about almost every day of my life: food, service, cleanliness, energy, enthusiasm, profitability. People that worry about profitability first don't really get to the promised land. So if I have really good food, service, cleanliness, energy, enthusiasm, if I take care of those 5 fundamentals, guess what's going to happen?
Profitability will come.
Money's going to show up. You follow me?
Yeah.
so many companies nowadays, especially private equity and people that take over these companies,
Yeah.
they the first thing they look at is beating up that profit and loss statement, the income statement.
Yeah.
That's backwards. And so that's another thing. Besides my people, the other thing is we never waver off of what we think is important.
Yeah. We call it purity of intent in the finance business, or selling with a noble purpose.
Right.
They before I went independent 4 years ago.
Text that to me, would you? I need to remember that.
I will. You got to text me that. I was already thinking of an acronym of yours.
Yeah.
But what I did notice, that profitability was last.
You know what? Right now we're sitting here. There's Ned right there,
There
walking
he is.
across. Guess what? He's at Grace's. He's a bartender at Grace's.
Yep.
He's been with me for 20-something years. He's walking over to us, to Carrabba's, to get a customer something from Carrabba's.
Happens all the time.
That's
I
what
see
you
it
do.
a lot. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I hate to get you off track, but I get excited talking to you, but we have a policy. Yes is the answer. What's the question? If the lady wants a red dress, we turn on the red light. You know what I mean? Somebody over
Yeah.
there probably wanted some, I don't know, pasta.
Yeah.
And so it's always customer oriented, and I have the best staff, man. For him to do that, just like, you can see I would get emotional.
Yeah. You do.
And I'm sorry to get you off track.
Not at all. I can always get right on. Right. We call that unbridled service.
And you know what I call it? I call it my ADD kicking in, because I'm having a great conversation with you, but
Yeah.
I'm looking out the window. saying,
ADD can recognize ADD because I've seen it.
I'm sorry, I don't
That's
have
it.
ADD.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I have ADDDDDD.
You got the D strong.
Like my grades.
No, but in the banking industry, before I went independent 4 years ago, they used to, my market managers would actually make fun of me / get a little bit mad that I didn't know the incentive program. And I said, well, the person that trained me, one of your in-laws, Jeff Green, he's a financial advisor, his premier banker, Ray Kwan, taught me back in 2006. If you do the right thing and you help people out, you will have so much referral business, and that's how I grew my business. I loved and believed what he said. I don't need to know. If I know my referral plan, and if you know your finance plan, you're going to indirectly do what's illegal. You're going to steer people to certain products. I don't sell products. I deliver unique solutions depending on what people's clients' goals are.
Yeah.
You might have 4 kids. My other client might not have kids. He doesn't care about his, so profitability and income should be last in any business. Do things for the love of it.
Right. I get upset with servers that want to sell the veal chop and a big old Barolo wine. They might not want that. You know what I mean? It's customer pay service. You know what I mean? Like I said, you might gouge them one time, or you might promote one time, and then you lose a repeat, trend.
Yep.
You take care of your clients.
I take care of my clients.
That's
and
right.
Probably, I would say halfway till when we really became friends, you used to ask me every Thursday night or Friday night when I would come in with a lot of my female friends, and you were trying to figure out, because it was a different girl for 3 straight nights, and you were wondering, Paulie, which one of these girls are you with? And I said, Johnny, none of them. They're just all my friends. Yeah. And my platonic friends. And I was selling with a noble purpose. We were just friends, because I always believe being friends with a girl, you can get a lot more out of them than trying to be more than friends, because 50 to 60% of the times it's going to go wrong.
Yeah, you made me laugh a lot of times too about that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad I can make you laugh as much as you made me laugh and taking care of me. And I guess we'll close with that. Thank you very much for being part of the first Unlike Regular podcast. Johnny Carrabba.
Love you, man.
You're the man. Love you too,
thank
brother.
you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Always.
I mean it.
Always.
You know that.
Thank you all.